My Faceteers, what's going on? It's your boy DeMarcus back with it again. And if you're not following me on social media, make sure you follow that man Marco on Instagram. You follow Mashing Up with Marco as well too. From that man Marco, that's where you get a chance to kind of see who I am as an individual, different aspects of my daily life. And just pretty much just pictures of what represents my life. On Mashing Up with Marco, my food page, you get to see all the ins and outs of how I create food, unique experiences at home. You get the chance to see me entertain you all with dancing and then also different skits while I'm cooking. TikTok is reflective of both of those pages, but the thing with TikTok is they don't allow you to post the whole songs whenever you're doing videos, so it's hard to mimic that on Instagram. But we're gonna get to it in the future. You can also follow me on YouTube at the Multifacets of DeMarcus. So on that page, you're just seeing all the different multifacets of me, pretty much an extension of all the different pages that I have, but it's going to give you a way to be able to um, have some relatability with me, being able just to see how I move and operate and see all the different things that I like to involve myself in. It could be extracurricular, community work, faith based, just all these different pieces of me. But the big point of my content is to be able to show people that the message isn't going to be for everybody, which is dope. And I want this to be for the people that feel misunderstood, that felt left out of things, people that feel that you had a purpose or you feel that you are someone and you didn't get that type of love, recognition, maybe grew up as an only child, whatever it is. Like, hopefully, based on how I'm talking and speaking, you can feel that somebody's there to be with you during the process. And again, this isn't um, one stop shop when it comes to the platform. Again, it's called the life of a multifacet. So here I'm going to be able to explain to you about my life, things that I'm experiencing, when it comes to all different aspects of like relationships. We can talk about sex, we talk about faith, we can talk about just thought processes, all that, because the life of a multifaceted is talking about my life as a multifaceted individual. And so there's no one stop shop in how I've been able to get here and how I'm continuing to mold into the person that I'm becoming. But I also have a life as well. And I'm a person that isn't afraid to shy from the things that I've experienced in life and the fantasies, whatever it is that I have in my life or things that I want to experience in ways in which directions I want to take my life, because I know as an individual, by me being honest with myself about where I'm at and who I am, that's what's helped me to get here today and has pushed me in the directions to get to where I want to in the future. So I'm not ashamed. I'm super thrilled to be the person that I am and continuing to mold into that person. And that truly goes into the title for today's episode, which some people might be like, and DeMarcus, like, why'd you name it that? Or why are you saying that? Or it's probably something that you all have experienced. And it may just be those certain days where you just feel like this because you just get tired and fed up. But the title for today's episode is Who Gives a Fuck? Just Be You. And funny enough, me even naming it that, like just knowing who I am as an individual and my brand, how I move in life, these are ways in which I feel. These are ways in which people that are close to me, whenever I'm talking, like I'll talk like this, like not trying to get vulgar and stuff all the time, but like just speaking in ways to where it has power is what's helped me in my life. And when I thought about this episode, I was like, man, this can be one in which I can for sure make it into a series in the long term. And I can create like multiple subtopics underneath one big topic. So here today, I kind of want to just create a general conversation centered around this. But this is one where like a lot of us truly feel it, right? Because when we think about being left out and we think about not being able to experience certain things, or even a lot of times being in our head and being overthinkers, you get to a point to where you just get tired of the shit. Like it exhausts you. You get to a space to where you're in and out of that thought process. One day you may be not you may be thinking like, yeah, I don't really care about what people think. You may be doing that for a good 6 months, right? But then something comes along to where it's all of a sudden now you feeling like that You may be someone that doesn't have that many days where you do that, but I'm here telling you today, man, stop giving a shit, stop giving a fuck, just do it. And a big thing that's helped me to get to this point, and as I tell you all the time, I'm someone that's continually growing. So the space that I'm in now, like I'm super thrilled to be in the mental space, physical space, and stuff that I'm in. But there's so much more upside for me. Like I'm truly excited for the upside. Like it almost makes me just like, just get jumpy. Just there's just something in me that just feels, you know that feeling whenever you get like the little butterflies when you see someone that you're really into, you're like, damn, there's something about them. That's how I feel about my growth as an individual. I'm like, obviously time doesn't wait for anyone, but based on where I've been able to get, especially from the spaces that I was in the past, man, it just gets me so excited. And I know that based on how time is moving, that things are going to happen the way that they should. And the biggest piece for me when it comes to not giving a fuck that helped me to push over into that even more. See, there's been a lot of times throughout my life to where I would have those moments, or I'd be like, hey, I don't really care about what people say, but inherently I did. There were times where I did even more because at those points, as someone that was pushing to be himself, and the ways in which I was thinking about certain conversations or certain topics, the way in which I moved, like it still was fresh for me to understand that being different was okay. So for so long, even though I'm moving like this, like there's still things that were bothering me, comments and stuff that was hurtful for me hearing, things that was being said by people, and I'm just like, I'm sitting here like it is bothering me, but I still got to push through and make it seem like it doesn't. So over time, I would have certain conversations with people, and I would have certain conversations that needed to be had, so people understood I wasn't somebody to play with. But it's real because you're going to realize that these things are going to bother you at some point, even when you feel that you may be at your most confident, or you may have your highest level of self esteem or whatever it is. You still may feel sometimes where you're like, man, that kind of bothered me a little bit. But when you get to a point to where you're really not caring, it may be something where you think about for a short period of time, but it's eventually going to go away because it's just in the moment. And I realized for myself that the point that I'm at now, there's times where I can get irritated and can get frustrated, but it's more so about something that happens in the moment. Maybe the way that somebody says something, or the way in which somebody will like enter themselves into a conversation or show judgment. And for me, I can get defensive in that period of time because I'm trying to figure out how would somebody feel that they could be able to come off to me in this way. And most likely, if somebody's doing it to you, they're doing it to other people, especially when it comes to conversations and the way in which they show up in certain spaces. So it's hard. It's hard at first, but you have to realize you really can't take it personal because it's more so a them thing, but it's also a you thing in a sense because it's the way in which you're handling it. And that's why it's important to have conversations and being able to call people out on areas that you may feel that they are going down the wrong path in, or that you may be affected by. And when I say areas, I'm talking about conversations and the way in which information is portrayed or conveyed. And so, setting that aside, when the part about me realizing or truly getting to the point where I didn't give a fuck is when I realized that so many people had, I won't say hidden agendas, but they had different ways in which they would move behind whatever they were involved in or behind the things that they would say. You're probably like, DeMarcus, I don't know if that makes sense. Like, what are you talking about? So let's take, for instance, whenever you're growing up and going to church. When I was young, I was, very involved with church. I was a part of the choir. I was an usher, all those types of things. And when it came to church, it was something that was more so pushed on me from my family, and it's something that I'm truly blessed to have been able to gone through. And like as a Christian man and someone that's faith driven, like this is again a space to where we're being honest and real. And if somebody were to judge me about the things that I was saying as far as in my life, or even the things in the past, because I'm saying that I'm a Christian man, again, I don't give a shit, because what I'm about to tell you is what typically happens in spaces, and what has pushed me to not give a fuck because of how I've seen life move. When I was younger, like I said, I was always involved. As I've told you all in the past, I'm a kid when it came to experiences. I was behind the curve, or below the curve. Like I was a late bloomer in a lot of things, in which now I feel like I'm really getting into a lot of my life experiences. And saying all that to say, when it came to things as far as going to church and things in which you should and shouldn't do, smoking and drinking, all that, I'm always hearing and seeing how bad of a thing it is, or the way in which people are talking about these particular things, especially when it's biblically. That for me, I already had the mindset, no, I can't do none of that at all. Like it's just I'm going to be a terrible person if I'm doing that or whatever. And that didn't help. That in addition to how I'm already trying to figure out life, people are already putting me in a position to where I have to feel perfect as it is. Hey, everything DeMarcus does, puts his hand on his gold, and you know, uh, parents telling my parents that they wish their kid was like me and all this and that. I'm just like, when I'm hearing this over time, I'm just like, damn, I can't even like make no mistake, because at the end of the day, or I can't do anything that may seem off the curve, because at any point somebody's going to look at me, and they're going to have different thoughts. And there were certain times in which I shared, you know, a small bit of information. It could be like I was nervous to kiss a girl, or I was having these thoughts, and then all of a sudden, because it's not something that we quote unquote seeing DeMarcus doing, where friends are going to be like, oh, they're going to make it a bigger deal. But the reason why I brought in the church is because a lot of times when we're growing up, especially for a lot of us, and we'll even say more so people that may be like preachers' kids, you're forced into a space that can be your vulnerable space, but you're forced into one which can be one of the most judgmental spaces that there ever was. And I can only speak because of my community, the Black community, but I see it in other communities as well. In our communities, people love to. I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna say in all communities for this. In in religious communities, we'll talk about Christian because that's what I am. People love to judge based on the Bible and say what you should or shouldn't do, but they are the first people to be participating in all these different acts and have the most to say about other people. And so the religious aspect comes in because that's the first place people tell you to go whenever things are not working out for you, or when you feel that um, at a crossroad. And it's also the first thing people would tell you to go whenever something in your life may not be working out, or whenever things are just at a particular point for you. And it's a space to where you should go when things are going well, and that's praying, talking to God, right? And so it's funny because within the church and growing up, while people are, and the pastors and things like that are putting you in position to become more godly, like quote unquote, and be holy, the tough thing is that people aren't telling you about the real things that they're experiencing in their life and how they're moving, for you to realize that you don't have to be on that perfect type of path. And so for me, over time, as a kid that's going to church, that's hearing, I'm hearing friends talking about sex, they talking about smoking, drinking, they're talking about, they cussing, they just talk all these different things, if it's lying, stealing, whatever it is. And a few of those things are things that are just completely negative. A few of the others are things where they're not bad things to have. Sex, right? That's something that's obviously supposed to be something that you're supposed to save until marriage because of how holy that it is. But overall, it's not a bad thing. Like sex, when you're having sexual talks, when you're having thoughts, these are not things that are bad, because you need to learn that it's a part of life, right? But when we think about like things as far as like lying, stealing from people, so those are things that's not right, because you're taking away from somebody else. You're inflicting harm on somebody else, and now they're in loss of a possession because of something that you've removed from them without their consent. And so when I think about me growing up and I look back to my life and I'm thinking about it now, I push myself to be in a position to not give a fuck when I seen how other people were truly moving, and I'm like, you know what? I'm so focused on being this because of what's being told to me that I'm not truly being my best self, and I'm not incorporating who what the market should be in order to get the most fulfillment out of life. And I'm saying that to say is I was so hard on myself a lot of times because I'm feeling that any type of mistake that I make, somebody's going to judge me. And we're going to take this outside of the religious aspect because I wasn't thinking that like all the time, oh, God's going to judge me. I'm thinking about like how the people are going to look at me because when I'm going into these spaces, and even when I'm around other adults, a lot of times, not only are they not necessarily telling you from a religious standpoint on how to move, but they're more so judging you based on their experiences and they're telling you what to do, what not to do because of kids that they've been around, growing up or adults that they've been around. So you're being told what to do, what not to do based on the human experience. And when I realized that the human experience is flawed as fuck, that changed everything for me. For real, for real. And I realized it so much more as an adult because you see how a lot of adults move in their life, and you see how so many adults can put so much emphasis on religion, on the church and spirituality, when in reality, they have so many flaws and so many things about them which they regret, so many life things that they participate in that they don't tell people about. And you look at the way and how their life is shaped up because of how they move, it is not reflective of any of the stuff that they told you. For some people, it is, but the way in which they try to instill it in you at times isn't fair because they're not giving you the opportunity to show up for yourself in the way that you want to. And I realize because there's so many adults that would talk to kids about having sex, looking at kids crazy, saying kids are bad, this and that. But in reality, kids are only a reflection of the parents. And so the things that we get ourselves involved in and what we're experiencing is more so from DNA and environments that we come from. So in reality, I realized that a lot of people that were, or especially these elders that were being so strict, so judgmental about what we were doing as kids, man, they were even doing the same thing or worse things as kids, most likely because there wasn't videos and ways in which you can film all this type of stuff or podcasts and all that type of stuff like it is now, or even at their age now they moving like that. And you realize that the best teachers are the ones that can be honest and that can be authentic in the work that they do. The people that try to make it seem as if they move in a way that's so different that they're far different than everybody else and they don't have their own flaws, and that those people are a piece of shit in my opinion because we are all born sinners and we're all people that are put on this earth in order to be able to give something to this earth before we leave. And no matter what that is, I feel that honestly God gives us all a purpose on this earth, and however you decide to go about that um is based on how do they say it, human decision. You know what I'm saying? You have the ultimate decision. God grants us the decision to figure out how we want to move in our lives. And can you have changes, epiphanies, all that? Of course. Like nothing in this life has to be um, something that sticks with you for the rest of your life. And it depends on what you do. Humans will make that judgment, but God makes the ultimate judgment. At the end of the day, you've got to do what feels best for you. But how you decide to leave your mark is ultimately going to depend on the decisions that you make. But the point that I'm getting to is that there's so many of these elders that always want to tell us millennials, Gen Z folks, what we should and shouldn't be doing and say it in a way in which they're judging us when y'all not coming out and talking about the things that y'all are doing. See, people that are real and that don't mind sharing what they've went through, you ain't got to share everything for detail, but there's nothing wrong with being able to share things that you experience in real time and how that can affect you. You know, when it comes to understanding life, like we are all trying to figure it out, but there's no one stop shop to say this is the perfect way. And you even learn nowadays because you have so much visibility on how people's lives move. There's no way in which you can say that this person's life over here moves better than the next person because of what they're showing. Because we can't see outside of those 1 to 2 minutes, or outside of that 1 to 2 hours, if it's a podcast or longer video, we can't see what you're truly doing and how you're truly moving. And again, you don't need to tell and share every single thing with everyone, but the problem is, and what's hard for people not to understand how to move into a position where they don't have to worry about giving a fuck, is the people in front of them are making it seem as if they've got it all together, or making it seem as if they don't have a past as well. And even if they have a past, they're not making it relevant to the people to understand that, to help them understand, even when you stop doing certain things, even when you're bettering yourself, there's still things that you may do as an individual that may not be right. But that doesn't change your whole character. Just because you're someone that smokes and you may not drink and you may not do anything else, doesn't mean that you're worse than the person over here that doesn't do anything. Like, or you may be the person that just drinks and you don't smoke. That don't mean you're better than somebody that's smoking all the time just because you decide to drink periodically or whatever. You may be a person that does none of that. You may not smoke or drink or party, but you may be a person that's out here having sex before marriage. You're not better than the next person. You may be somebody that parties all the time. You go out sober to the parties. You may never have sex. You may never do none of that. But you also may be a person that is combative. You're always going off on people. You always, going behind people's back. The point that I'm trying to get to is, and those may not be some of the best examples to you all, but it's the point of, no matter what, you've got to be you, and you can't make it seem as if how you move is so different. I've been in groups where I've talked about how I move and I've talked about results that I've gotten, and people have been like, "Oh man, DeMarcus, so you always want to talk about these certain aspects of your life. You want to talk about it seems like you ain't going through." No, it's not the point about not going through anything, or not feeling as if you're on this whole other island that people are not. But you have to be able to know when to step in and enlighten conversations, especially when you see that so many people are being followers. If I can share the great results or dope, whatever it is, and I can share even negative experiences, but that can all root in who I'm being and being my best self. I don't give a fuck what nobody's got to say, because at the end of the day, I know that I'm truly learning off these experiences, and I was able to be me the whole time. And that's what's real about a lot of things, is that people aren't able to share their experiences and share the good things because they're not continuously working through that. They're not doing the work, and they're not willing to hold that accountability for themselves to say, this is why I've been able to get this, and why this didn't work out the way that it should. And so at times you also got to be able to shift up the energy of the convos, because a lot of people love harping on the negative aspects of a conversation, negative experiences. But if you're someone that, even though you may have had some bad experiences, overall you've had some really good experiences, why would you want to keep going into an environment where everybody's talking negative and they're not willing to help themselves? One, I don't want to continue to be a part of those, but more importantly, if I'm not experiencing the same things that y'all are talking about, why would I share that for? And especially if overall who I am as an individual, if I don't even have enough bad experiences to overshadow the positive experiences, there's not really anything for us to talk about. And so a lot of people can feel as if, or some people may feel as if, like they don't want to hear that because they don't truly believe in their own selves. They don't have anything to stand on. They're so much focused on the outside validation that, in reality, because of how they're moving through life, they can't fathom to see that stuff can move in a different light than it has. But that's where you're different. And so, again, I said I would expand on these things later on. But in general, you have to work on not giving a fuck, because the same people that are judging, the same people that are older than you, that are talking about all this and that, if they're real enough, they'll share their experiences and they'll talk through ways in which they've gone through life, and it's on you to be able to be your representative in these rooms. And if you see where somebody's trying to come at you and say something different, or trying to look at you in a certain way, that's where you push back and be like, I don't care who you talking about, what about you? And a lot of people need to be told about themselves, because they're the first to make smirks, talk about everybody else, what they're doing, not doing, and place judgment. But they don't want to place judgment on the person in the mirror, because it's easy for them to hold other people accountable and judge them, but they can't do it to their own selves. And again, this can be the smallest things in life. Don't let people feel it's because there's something bigger that society looks at as a flaw that they can get on you for that. No, there's a lot of small things that people do that can add up to those bigger things. So you got to be the person that can be your own representative. And you have to realize as well, something I've had to realize is, it's dope to have people around you, but everybody don't need to know the shit that you got going on. It don't matter how close you are to people. There's some things in which you got to keep into yourself, because a lot of keep to yourself, because a lot of people don't have the maturity, and there's too many people that they can seem mature, but they ain't got it in them to be able to share aspects of their life and to help people. So they're going to look at that small win that they can, quote unquote, that they can say, where, hey, DeMarcus told me about this crazy experience he had. So every time we're around, we're going to bring this up so I can hide my stuff. No, when we around, if you can bring up my shit, I can bring up yours as well. Don't feel that you have a time to where you can use something, quote unquote, that it's not harmful, but something that other people are afraid. Don't use my vulnerability against me to be able to overshadow the fear that you have in being able to talk about yourself. Because just because you ain't willing to do it doesn't mean that I'm not going to. And that's what helps you to build your confidence, and not to feel like you got to be sneaky about things or whatever it is. Like, at the end of the day, we all have different pieces of us, and no matter what, everybody has secrets. We all have parts of life that, is for us or whatever it is. But when you're authentic in who you are, at the end of the day, those type of things don't make up who you are. It's just an extension of who you are. But when people live full secret lives, they're afraid to talk about themselves. They're afraid to truly share the wins, truly share the losses in addition to the wins. They're truly, you know, um, they're truly desperate to be able to get excited and share about somebody else's negative things that went on versus themselves. Deep down inside, they're just miserable. And they are people that more than likely they're going to go through this life and they're going to experience some bad insecurities. And until you get to a point to where you're willing to accept who you are, and again, being able to talk about and share things in the right environments. Once you can get to that point, there's not going to be much that can hold you back, or much that people can say. There's not going to be many things that people can say that can bring you down, because you already know about yourself. And in addition, when you're truly moving how you are and you're truly able to represent yourself in a way that people can feel, and then they can gravitate towards, what's going to happen is all the things that you talking about, they might have baggage times 2 or times 3, but you know what they're gonna do? I guarantee you they're gonna come to you and be like, DeMarcus, I appreciate this. You know what? I was going through that same type of experience. I actually went through something similar, but I felt I was gonna be judged because nobody else said anything about it. But my family and close friends around me were the people that were judging me. I ain't got no reason to judge you because it ain't my situation. I can say what I feel like is crazy, wild, disgusting, or whatever it is, but at the end of the day, that's your decision. Like, that has nothing to do with me. Now, if it's something to where it's harming me or harming people, then I feel like I have the right to judge, because then at the end of the day, you are doing something to others that's harming them. And if we're people trying to help people, why would we personally go out and try to harm someone intentionally? But if you're doing something and that's part of your life and the decision that you made, and ultimately you're being consensual or whatever about it, and you're going about it in your own lane, at the end of the day, that's what you chose to do. That's not anybody else's decision. And so for people to place judgment on you because of decisions you make that doesn't do anything to self-inflict or harm that individual, that's wrong. So and we all have points in which we judge, but I'm telling you, like, I, because of who I am as an individual, because of the ways in which I've experienced life, and even talking about situations in which I'm talking about now, it's so hard for me to judge a full person on what they share or what they do. I can only go based on the information that they tell me. But again, if I feel that somebody's harming me or they're doing something to me, that they're lying to me or wronging me, that's a whole different story. But man, people are who they're going to be. And I realized for myself that I hated being someone that was put into this perfect box and someone that couldn't experience life and get out on his own and see how things were. So that's why I truly am the person that I am today. And I love it. I embrace it. There's different things. There's ways in life that I think about. I wish could have went a different way sometimes, or I may want to take accountability and be like, man, you know what? It would have been nice if this would have happened, but I don't have regrets. And there's nothing wrong with wishing or thinking about if something could have went in a different direction. But when you have full regret of something, that means that the way in which you went about that type of situation, like it's something that has to be changed. Now, there's a difference between having long-term regrets versus the short-term regrets, in my opinion. So when I say don't have regrets, it's not that I haven't regretted anything. It's not that I haven't had situations to where I was regretting things for a short period of time. But when you regret something for a long period of time and that affects your day-to-day life and then that affects other aspects of your life, that's when there's a problem involved, because now this part of your life is being conflicted in other areas. And so I'm not perfect. I don't want to be perfect. I started doing this, and as I'm doing more episodes, I'm like, this to me is fun. Like, I have self talks like this with myself all the time, and over time, I had to realize to invite others into it, because there was friends and family that are like, DeMarcus, we don't know what you got going on. Like, some friends are like, DeMarcus, you never talk about certain situations, and I'm like, yeah, because why do I need to? And over time, sharing certain information, I realized that, again, me believing and trusting in myself, it was better off that I didn't share certain aspects of my life, because just like this podcast, it's about being misunderstood. People ain't going to understand why I'm moving the way that I do, why I have certain feelings and am able to get certain results in the way that I do, that a lot of times have nothing to do with money. And for the times that it does come with money, I get the results as well. But we're talking about things that have nothing to do with monetary or outside things, the results that have come from within. There's not any type of money that you can give me to replace me being my full self and getting the results that I'll get in life. I'd rather be someone that's getting $50,000, $60,000 a year, living comfortably as hell, not able to get the big lavish things, but I can move on my own terms and everything, be who I am, as opposed to making $1 million plus a year, but then I got to confine to somebody else's rules and them running me and them being in charge of every single thing that I have, because I can't do it myself, or because I'm under some type of contract that I'm selling my life away. Fuck that. No, we are being ourselves. And I'll say this last piece. If you're someone that's spiritual, religious, because you make certain mistakes or because you're going through life and there's different things in which you take part in or that you're involved in, does not make you a terrible person. I'm going to tell you that right now. And as we think about spiritual and biblical as well, listen, people in the church are some of the most crooked people. And church is a great community for us, but it can also be the biggest downfall, because the same people that go in there every single Sunday, Wednesday, some people go in there every day of the week are some of the most hypocritical people ever. Hypocritical people ever. And so I'm here to tell you that as you're growing within your faith, your relationship with God is your relationship. What you decide to do is what you decide to do. At the end of the day, you always have to work on bettering yourself and reaching different heights. But the moment that you let people shame you for who you are, you're going to fall into a deep ditch, because those same people ain't willing to tell you the things that they've experienced or what they're going through. If somebody's been able to get through from a certain place to a better place, that's different, because they're shedding light on when they were in the pits to where they're now in a great situation. And they're probably telling you, they're giving you advice because they don't want you to go down that path. That's a real person, because they don't care about where they're at now. They don't care about what they experience. They want to help the next person that's in line. That's totally different. But people that are just willing to tell you off the top of the head what they think because they feel that that's best for you based on what they've seen or heard, fuck them people. Because at the end of the day, they're not doing anything to move the needle. The real ones are the ones that want to go through the process with you, and they want to be able to truly embrace who you are, but help to guide you along the way. And we all need some type of guidance. We all are only responsible for making our own decisions. At the end of the day, decisions that I make and what I decide to do and not to do doesn't make me any better than this person over here. And at the end of the day, some of the most intelligent people are the ones that are out here homeless. They can give you the most game. They know more about God than the people that may go into that church every single Sunday. So don't judge a book by its cover. So these are things in which we all continuously work on. Again, I'm not saying that there's not times where I haven't placed judgment or don't look at a situation and be like, why would you do that or whatever? But I also have to snap myself back into reality to say, DeMarcus, you know what? Like, you kind of looking at this a little crazy. Like, you can't be, no, because look at what you got going on. And I always G-check myself because I'm like, I got flaws. I got things that I've done. I got things that I want to experience, have experienced. So I'm not any better than the next person. So stop giving a fuck. Work on being you. And we're going to have more episodes in the future talking about how can we embrace this more. And as we continue to move forward, how can we show love to ourselves every day, even when it may seem hard to, even when it's down periods. But how can I love being me and embrace the journey, even when the journey may seem like it's shit? But that's what I'm here for. It's your boy, Life of a Multifacet. And I'm hoping that episodes like this um, can be words of encouragement for somebody out there that may be thinking thinking that it's tough, thinking in ways where it's like they don't feel like they have a breakthrough and feeling if they can't just experience life or get through life without feeling that they won't be accepted. Like, this is for you. So I'll talk to y'all later. It's your boy DeMarcus. Peace.